let's get into tonight's lesson. I want to talk a little bit tonight. Let's get my slides up here about how you make easy and more effective inspections. And I think this is critical because it seems like to me that and the people that I talk with on my B Team mentoringship program, B Team 6, and people in general that are new beekeepers especially, but sometimes people that have been keeping bees several years do struggle with knowing what to do, when to do it. So I've got some tips to make it easier and more effective. Let's jump right into it. First of all, I think it's important to be prepared. And that means that you need to think through what protective gear that you need in advance, right? You just need to start thinking, okay, I need a smoker, I need a hive tool, I need smoker fuel, all that stuff. But protective gear, you're going to need enough things that you wear to keep you from being stung in case the bees can kind of get defensive on you. So in other words, you need to be have a bee suit or a jacket or at least a hat and veil. And if you don't like being stung on the fingers, then you need a pair of gloves. If you don't want to go up your shorts, wear long pants. If you don't like being stung through your blue jeans, wear a bee suit. And because once you start getting stung, beekeeping inspection is no longer fun. And you rush it, you get a little bit more clumsy and aggravated. So always wear protective gear, whatever that might be for you. I would say it's always better to have too much on than not enough. And if you don't have enough on, it's always better to have more on hand right there by you, like a pair of gloves, or you can have, your bee suit. There's been plenty of times I've had to retreat and put on some gloves and get back in the hive again. So have stuff nearby. Now, tools are important to take before you do your inspection. You need to have things like a bee brush. A lot of people don't think about that. Many times I've thought, oops, I forgot to bring my bee brush. You got to brush bees out of the way. You need a hammer, a pair of pliers, some nails in case you find a broken frame or box. All the tools that you can think of that you might need out there. Gorilla tape, you might need maybe 2 hive tools to do a little bit different kind of prying. It's always better to have way too many tools out there. Of course, you need your basic tools with the hive tool smoker, but more tools, the better. Of course, you need a drink. And if some of you are still experiencing really hot weather like I did a few days ago, oh my gosh, you can't drink enough. And I think it's important also to have your cell phone with you. You never want to go out there without the proper way to call in case you get into trouble. Whether that's a hive tipping over and you're the only one holding it up and keeping it from falling, or whether you're have developed anaphylactic shock that you didn't know you had, but you got stung and now you're about ready to pass out. Or maybe you just need to call somebody because something's wrong. So always take your cell phone with you. Make sure you have easy access to that cell phone. If you have ear pods, like if you have an iPhone, you can wear the what are they called? AirPods in your ears. That way you can make a phone call hands-free. That would be helpful. Always take extras smoker fuel with you. That will make it much more effective and easier to keep feeding your smoker if the inspection goes long or you have several hives. You got to keep the smoker running. Always take that lighter in case something goes out. Number 2, you need to, now this is important, you need to expect the unexpected. Now you might laugh at this, but oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many times I have dealt with the unexpected, and until you're ready for it or expecting it, it's a shock when it happens. Now it can be a broken frame, like you go to pick it up and it breaks and all the frame falls apart in the hive or outside the hive because, something came loose on the frame, the top bar pulled away from the sidebars and it just falls. And so you need to kind of be thinking that something like that can happen. Or maybe you accidentally drop a frame. The best way to deal with the unexpected is to already be thinking through, what am I going to do if this happens? What would be my course of action? When I drop a frame on the ground, the first thing I do is I think queen, right? If I don't know where the queen is and she could be on that frame, I don't want to go stomping around on the ground, like moving away really quickly because the queen might be down on the ground. So you want to think through that because now if you stay in that same position very long, and if you're close to where the frame fell, those bees are going to crawl up your pants leg. They really will. They'll just find an easy way to go right up your pants. Think about how to move and where can you move without killing the queen. Now, the other thing is stings and cuts and other things that happen that can injure you out there. It's always ready to be prepared. Have some Band-Aids. These hive tools, like on the corners of the hive tools, they're very sharp. Both of the corners, they will cut you. And so if you handle it wrong, like on these corners right here, gosh, there's like a razor blade. And I have been cut a few times. Sometimes I get cut back here because I'll be handling it wrong, and this part of it will dig in. Oh, here I am. This part will kind of dig into your arm right there a little bit. So be careful with that. Have some Band-Aids ready. You don't want to have to bleed for a while until you find some Band-Aids. But, think about how you're going to pull the sting out. Are you going to pull it out with your hive tool? Have that nearby. And then are you going to put alcohol where the sting was to reduce the pheromones? Or are you going to use your smoker to reduce the alarm pheromone? Be thinking about equipment problems. There's a lot of equipment problems that can happen with the hive itself. It could be off balance, and you're moving it or inspecting it can cause it to shift and fall over. There can be things that break while you're inspecting it. Have you ever pried off a top cover and something breaks while you're prying off, trying to break loose propolis? So speaking of that, expect propolis issues. Again, I've spoken about this before, but some of you might not realize how much propolis will develop in your hive as time goes on. The bees continue to put more propolis in there, and boy, does it get thick. So have a plan to manipulate things with your hands or your gloves with propolis all over them. It gets a lot harder to work a hive when your hands get very sticky. And it's very difficult for me to continue to mark my queens, to pick my queens up when I have really, really propolized sticky fingers, because my fingers will not release the queen when I want her to. She's stuck to my fingers. And also, now that we're getting into late summer, well, I shouldn't say late summer, but we will be soon, and fall, think about robbing. And that's really something that a lot of people aren't able to recognize. You'll open up a hive, you'll start working it, and you'll start seeing robbers show up, but you may think they're your bees. And so you got to kind of know the difference. You can go out there when bees aren't robbing and you can get an idea of what it looks like. Not a lot of activity, not a lot of flying, is it? When you're working a hive on top there, you don't see a lot of bees flying from the top. But when robbing happens, you'll see a lot of airborne bees right there on top of your frames when the hive's open. And that's how you can tell the difference, when you see a lot of flying up around your opened hive. So in that case, you need to have a piece of my burlap that I recommend that you have, and then only expose the open part of the hive as you need to pull a frame out, and then drop the burlap back over it. And that smothers out kind of the scent of the hive being open, and it eliminates the possibility of how many different bees can actually, robber bees can get inside there and go back and tell their hive that a hive is open. So be thinking about those things too. Now, excuse me. And also, I want you to be very specific with your inspections, and that is focus on identifying one or two things for each inspection. That's going to make the inspection smoother for you, less to worry about. Even if you see something and that's not in your protocol for that inspection, don't pursue it. If you're not there to kill beetles and to put beetle traps in, but you notice a lot of beetles, then you're there to only look for eggs, or you're there only to see, if the queen is good or if the honey is capped over. So that is going to be something you're going to remember, that, I got a beetle problem. That's going to be my next inspection that I focus on. See, you'll be armed the next time to deal with beetle problems. Don't try to go in there and chase everything you see at that time. It's going to extend the inspection too long, and you may not really think through properly how you're going to address what you see on the fly unless you're real experienced. So focus on one or two things at a time. Don't be overly distracted by everything that you see. Some people are new to beekeeping, and sometimes you'll see, what is that little thing? And what is this little larvae? And is that a small hive beetle? Is that a wax moth larvae? Is that a small beetle larvae? I don't understand why this color is different than that color. And you get so caught up and distracted Don't do that. Try to stay focused on one or two things and make mental notes of what you have questions about, because you can pursue that after you get back into your house for your next inspection. It's important too on this inspection, of course, is to be prepared in advance. And that's primarily what I just spoke of. If you need to go back and deal with small hive beetle, for example, then you're going to have time to prepare for dealing with small hive beetle. So in other words, let's say you're inspecting and you're trying, in this inspection, you're only looking for the queen, but you notice a bunch of beetles. Well, then what you want to do is you want to say, okay, next time I inspect, I'm going to be in small hive beetle mode. So you're going to go back after you've done that inspection, looking for the queen. You're going to go back. You're going to spend a week, a few days researching about how you're going to approach small hive beetle to keep them under control. And that way you're preparing in advance on the action that you're going to take, whether you're buying Swiffer pads, whether you're buying some oil traps between frames, whether you're putting Grub-X on the ground underneath it, diatomaceous earth, whatever your unique protocol is, you're going to be thinking and you're going to be prepared on your next inspection. So when you open it up, you'll have a plan to smash beetles immediately and then implement your procedure to bring them under control. So do prepare in advance. Number 4, during this inspection, I want you to really work very careful in slow motion. And I want you to use smoke regularly. Keep that smoker going. A lot of people let that smoker go out and then the bees can get riled up. Also, I've seen people stand in front of the hive. Now, I'm not sure if that's something that just gets missed in basic beekeeping classes, because everybody kind of assumes people know that beekeepers are not going to stand in front of a hive because that's where bees are flying in and out. I don't recommend putting anything in front of the hive. I've watched people inspect bees before, and when they lift a frame out, they want to park it somewhere. They park it at the front of the hive. Now, that may just be a difference of opinion, but my opinion is not to put it there, because it's at the front and it's messing with the orientation of the bees landing, what they're used to seeing when they come in. If it's late in the year, if it's a honey frame, then you got that honey frame right there. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a good place to park a frame in the front. I like to keep the front the way the bees see it all the time. So when I'm working, they're not bothered by or obstructed by the entrance being changed or different. So don't block the front. Work your bees from the side or the back. I do a combination of usually back or the side. The side works better to me because I can pick my frames up easier. But probably one of the most important things to make your hive inspection more efficient and more accurate and effective is to protect your queen. Really, you got to protect the queen. I know it's one bee out of 40 to 50,000 bees. What's the chances of her being smashed during your inspection? The chances are not all that great, but it's possible, and it happens quite often. So find a way that you can really protect your queen while you're doing your inspection. And then also, you want to work your hives very slowly when the inspection is over. A lot of people make this mistake. When the inspection is over, they rush to close it up. And you don't need to rush. Like, this is especially true for those of you that have, like, sometimes I'll have 2 supers and 2 deeps, and I'm going through all 40 frames. So I've got a medium super to take off, another medium super laying over there, another deep laying over there, and then I got this deep over here. And if it's a really strong, heavily populated defensive colony, then by the time you've gone all the way down to the bottom deep, they're telling you that they're done. And so you see a lot more chance of you being stung. You see them agitated on your screen, on your veil. They're popping you. You can hear them hitting your hat. And so now you look and go, uh-oh, my bees are done with me inspecting, but I'm not done yet. And so a lot of times people in that scenario will rush. Oh my gosh, I got to get this back together because they're kind of getting upset. But the more you rush and the more they detect that you're upset, the more they get upset. And so it's really hard to be patient and just take your time and put that back together again. But you do need to put your hive back together just like you were starting, very comfortably, slow, gentle motions. Return the frames basically where they go. and let it all kind of calm down. You need to avoid killing bees unnecessarily. You can't avoid it completely. I remember when I first started YouTube videos, and I remember a few people saying, oh, when you put that deep box back on, I saw you smash a bee. You know, they were offended that I smashed a bee. I'm offended when I smash a bee, but it can't be helped. It's going to happen. And if anybody has never killed a bee putting a hive back together again, it means that your hives aren't very populated, because a heavily populated hive, when you separate them, they boil out in such numbers that they're just sitting on that the lower box when you put the next one on. Now, I use techniques where I start the box and I slide it across, and that pushes the bees out of the way. A lot of techniques. Use your smoker, use your bee brush to brush bees off. But in a lot of cases, you do all that, they just flood back on that area. So sometimes there's this collateral damage that happens when you're doing an inspection. But do try to avoid it, because you're releasing alarm pheromones. I got some bonus tips here for you as we land the plane on these tips. And that is, learn to track what you observe. And what I mean by that, I actually have an inspection guide, and it's on my website, and you can look at it at honeybeesonline.com. I put it together over the course of probably a decade, and I thought I need to design an inspection guide for people to have when they inspect their bees, what to be tracking when they're in that hive. And so it helps you, you can download the PDF, you purchase it, you download it, you print it off, you have it in a 3-ring binder or something, and you can take it out there for each hive if you want to, or just use it as a guide. But you can write down how many frames of eggs you see, how many frames of larvae, how many frames of cap pupae you see, and then do the math. You can calculate how well off your hive is doing with the brood. Same with resources as well. So you need to be able to track. Now, this comes with experience. An experienced beekeeper is going to open up the hive, and immediately we're thinking, okay, what is our brood situation? Eggs, larvae, and pupae. How are they? Do we have a good balance of numbers? How are my resources? Do I see pollen, nectar, bee bread, and honey? How are my resources in the hive? That's the first thing that we just automatically start observing. In fact, when the rubber hits the road, those are the things that you need to know. You need to know that you need to observe the 3 brood stages and the 4 resource stages. Boom. That's so easy. You just need to know that. Think 3, think 4. And then you have a good idea how your hive's doing. Then you start thinking about, do they have enough room? Do I need to add more frames? And so you can inspect really quick if you already have that in your mind. But like I said earlier, the bonus tip is to form a plan of action upon the follow-up. So you need to be able to follow up on that hive if you see and suspect that they don't have enough resources and they need fed, or they're out of room and they need more space. Most of the YouTube videos that you see me make, I'm opening that up and I'm solving a problem. I released a video today. We opened it up last week. No queen, open swarm cells, open supersedure cells, low population. The last remaining pupae were emerging. So it had been about 20 days. And I don't see anything going on in there. I didn't see a virgin queen. I didn't see a new queen. Kind of panicked. But in the previous video, I said, okay, we're going to come back in 1 week and see if we have a queen. And I'm not going to tell you what happened. That would be a spoiler. But we found out today whether they had a queen or not, or when we filmed it yesterday. But I published that video just a little bit ago. So be watching that and help you make these decisions on a follow-up plan of action. So when I went into that hive, I knew exactly what I needed to do. If I see they have a queen, I'm going to evaluate her laying pattern, make sure it's all good. If I didn't see her queen, I'm going to go back to one of my mating nukes. I'm going to pull a mated queen out, introduce it into this hive that is queenless. So always have a good plan like that. All right, very good. Well, that's the lesson for today on how to speed up your inspections and make them more efficient and more effective. The main thing is, you staying in control. You have to be the one to be in the pilot seat of that inspection. You have to conduct the inspection. It is all up to you to inspect it, keep it together correctly. So that's great. All right, let's take a moment and ask some questions today. What kind of questions does the Beak Squad have on their minds today? I'll be happy to answer your questions. Hey, Glenn, recently purchased some robbing screens for some of my weaker hives. Should I put them on or wait until I observe signs of robbing? The answer to that, Glenn, is yes. You want to put those on about the day before the robbing happens. And I know that's not a fair answer at all. I would say if you start observing any robbing at all, you need to rush and put those on. Now, of course, if you work in the daytime, it's a little risky because they can start robbing while you're at work. If you have experienced robbing in the past where you live, maybe there's some nearby wild feral colonies or another beekeeper nearby, you may want to find a way to put those on early before it happens. But if you haven't had too much of a robbing problem, you might wait until you see signs of it, and then you can take action. Hey, Greg, thanks for becoming a YouTube member on my channel. You can always join any of the, you can join my channel by going onto any of my videos. At the bottom, there's a join button, and you can support the channel by being a Nectar Novice or a Beak Squad ambassador. So always appreciate that so much. You want to become a member. Hey, Jen, what do your hives say? Why do your hives have so much propolis? Because mine don't have any, and I've heard that with propolis, beehives are much healthier. Yes, Jen, I don't know how old your colony is. If it's a new colony this year, like you just started in the spring, it does take them a minute to get that propolis kind of spread around, and the longer that hive survives and lives, the more propolis they'll continue to pack in there. Also, it depends on where you live. Some people are in a more, they're in an area where bees gather propolis more from the climate that they live in. But I would just say, I think it's because your bees haven't been through many generations and many seasons yet. With more seasons, like if you look at some of the trees that we cut down with bees in them, the propolis is like a half-inch thick. It's unbelievable. So it does make bees healthier in that what it does is it allows the honeybee colony not to have to use so much of their own immune energy to be immune to these pathogens, because the lining of the propolis will help reduce some of the pathogens that are there. It doesn't do much, we don't think, to control mites, only a teeny tiny bit, if any, but it does control some pathogens. Well, thank you, Tim Sanders, for your donation tonight. Appreciate it a lot. Appreciate that. I got a lot of flies in my room here today. Daniel, hi, David. My swarm is 3 weeks old tomorrow. I have not seen a mated or virgin queen, and no eggs or larvae, etc. If I inspect tomorrow and there's no change, what should I do? Pretty simple answer. Let's always fall back on a very logical way to approach things, and let's err on the side of caution. So in this case, it sounds like it's been 3 weeks, plenty of time that we should have seen eggs by now. Logical explanation, and our next course of action is to get a mated queen in there. I wouldn't put eggs in there. It's been too long. It's going to take another 30 days for that egg to become a queen and then get mated and start laying. But a mated queen in there as soon as you can, Daniel. That's going to be the thing you need to do. Absolutely. Hey, Jeff. How long does your burlap last as smoker fuel? It lasts a very long time because I have a cork that I put in the smoker when I'm done using it, which quickly snuffs out the flame. So I can reuse the same big wad of burlap. Maybe one or two big wads of burlap will last me a good 4 or 5 hours. I don't really inspect longer than 4. I think every time we film for about 4 hours, and it burns the whole time. I may add another piece in there. So it's quite amazing. Yeah. Ross Wagner, member for 3 months, it says. Thank you, Ross. Listening while on my lawn tractor. Thanks for all your content. Well, good for you, Ross. Wow. Don't run over your wife's flower because I say something funny and you're not watching where you're going or crash into one of your trees or something. You must have a real quiet mower. Patty, hi, David. How late in the season do you use green drone comb? And are the bees on the comb good to use in an alcohol wash provided the queen is not there? Thank you for being awesome. Oh, good question, Patty. You bring up a subject that is really being talked about a lot and pursued a lot right now, and that is, where is the best source to gather the bees when we're doing alcohol wash, for example, because a lot of work. A lot of work's been done in the past, but more so kicked off in the present right now with people doing research about mites jumping onto drones. We've always known that. That's why there's green drone comb, but also on the adult drones. So right now, I'm sticking to a protocol that works for me, and that is if I'm doing a mite wash, I'll either do a powdered sugar mite wash from bees on open brood, because I feel like I need to gather those bees from where the mites might be ready to jump in to the cap, or just for they're capped over as pupae. And so I take it off the open brood for nurse bees. But yeah, a lot of research is still being done on that, about this idea that more mites are being found on the drones. And I think I said last week, that's why we think there's a shift in numbers. That's why our numbers might be higher once the drones are killed, because the mites actually jump off of, they're no longer able to go to the drones anymore because they've been killed off in the fall, and then all the mites go on to the workers. I heard Dr. Samuel Ramsey talk about that many years ago, 5 years ago. All right. Good question for Patty asked. Jean says, David, how are flies and spiders a problem for beehives? They're really not so much at all. Flies and spiders are intimidated by bees for the most part. And bees just move them along. You'll see flies trying to go in and out of the entrance, and the bees won't let them. Spiders hang out, and the jumping spiders will try to kill a few bees and eat them, but minimal damage done. So not too bad, not to be worried about, unless you live in a real unique area where you've got some special species of spiders and flies that are able to conquer beehives, but I haven't heard of that. Thank you, Mike, for your donation tonight. Appreciate that. By the way, if you can't donate on the live stream, you can always go to our website at honeybeesonline.com, make a donation to our live stream. It does cost a couple of pennies to put this out each week for internet and all that. And so we appreciate you supporting the cause. New bee here. Can the winter bee kinds be used in southern climates where the weather is not always below 50 degrees? Yeah, I think so. The temperature is controlled by the bees mostly. Obviously, if you put a winter bee kind on it, by the way, the winter bee kind is a product that I invented many years ago of hard candy and vitamins and minerals to help feed bees in the wintertime. And if it's really warm outside, like 80 degrees or 90, it's possible that could melt a little too fast. But by that time, the bees are already dealing with it. So one way to look at it is the bees will consume the content of it more quickly the warmer it gets on a largely populated colony. If it's a really weak colony, I guess it's possible. But no, 50 is not a bad temperature at all. Yeah, our winter bee kinds go on sale August the 1st. I forgot about that. Gosh, that's coming up fast. Oh boy. Yeah, we started taking orders for those winter bee kinds, and we do sell out very rapidly every year, but I think we've got a plan now to go a little deeper in numbers rather than we have in the past. Hey, Ross, you're mowing your yard, aren't you? I saw a skunk right near my hive this afternoon. My hive is 20 inches off the ground. I'm 6'1", so it works. Should I live trap the skunk? Okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. You're 6'1", so 20 inches. You don't have to. Yeah, I understand that now. I'm 6'1" as well. Yeah, I'm 6'1", by the way. Some of you that are watching me, when you see me in person, everybody, that's the first thing everybody says to me. Oh my gosh, you're so much taller than I thought you were. Whoa. Okay. 20 inches off the ground, the skunk may have to raise up to get in there, which at that point, the skunks are insectivores and they like to eat bees, and they will raise up like that. And the bees are pretty good at stinging their underside and running them away. You can always put some things on the ground in front of your hive, like nails, a bed of nails on boards, and kind of bees. The skunks don't like to stand there. Thanks, Jeff, for your donation. Appreciate that. Lead poisoning will also kill skunks as well if you live in the country. Hey, Chad, is 3 deep boxes too many? Then add a super. Want to make sure they have enough room for winter. A big debate on that. Some people are fine using 3 deeps for the brood area and putting supers in addition to that. Personally, where I live in Illinois, it's a bit too much space for the bees to have to deal with so much space in the wintertime. I'm finding it better to have only 2 deeps and 1 super, or a deep and a super, and then I put my winter bee kinds on top of that. Yeah, I've tried all that stuff before, but boy, that's a lot of space. And eventually they're going to desert that bottom deep, maybe the second bottom deep. They keep moving upward into the heat of the hive, right? And where the honey is stored above them. And so I don't think it's going to help them much. The extra boxes in the winter, they're going to abandon the lower boxes. They always do usually. Yeah. David, in your example, is it better to move or remove the supers and second deep to allow inspection of the bottom first? This would mean replacing each box and inspecting from bottom up. I normally don't do that. I'm not sure if that's a better way or not. I usually start at the top. If I've got 3 boxes, I'll look at the super. Not much to see there if it's capped over honey, right? Pretty quick inspection. I may not look at every frame. Set it aside, go to the next deep. I leave it sitting right there. And the reason I do that is because the queen could be right there in that super or that deep box. So I'll inspect that deep box again, maybe not every frame, 2 or 3 frames, look at the brood, make sure it's healthy, look for the queen, look for eggs. And then I might set that aside and see what's in the bottom. It could be some brood down there, but largely it's oftentimes not so much brood in the bottom, but bee bread, that's where all the foragers are hanging out, bringing stuff in. But anyway, if there's brood down there, I'll take a look at that and then put it all back together. So I don't remove them all at once and then put them back together. I want to remind you guys that we have a live stream coming up here on July the 21st at 1. And we have a few tickets left. I think we have 8 tickets left. So 8 tickets left. You can reserve your ticket tonight if you want to be here. The live stream is going to be in this room. You'll be an audience here and you'll get to see the live stream and be a part. We have some things planned, meet and greet after the live stream that's being broadcast. We're going to have a time to interact with our community that's here, as well as some giveaways for you guys too. So if you want to come to that, Saturday, July 27th at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. So keep that in mind. Jeff, we did a brood break by caging our queen, and after 7 days, we opened the hive to release her, and the colony had 10 capped queen cells. Is that normal? Yes, it is. It's not. I often refer to this in some of my videos. I'll say that you do have to check for queen cells. The bees are thinking, there's been a break in our brood. What's wrong? And then somebody says, well, our queen is over there in a cage. And then somebody says, well, that doesn't help us any. We've got bees dying every single day, hundreds of bees. We need eggs. And so they said, okay, I don't know how the queen got in there or why. Let's make some queen cells. So you have a chance then to use those queen cells in mating nooks or queenless colonies that need queens, right? You can push them over there if you need to. But yeah, you need to always check. Usually they're pretty close to where the cage was. So yeah, I've seen that before myself. But you're getting a brood break, cutting down on your mite load tremendously. Hey, David, we have 2 hives just did the mite check for the first hive, tested 381 bees and found 6 mites. And the second hive tested 278 bees and found 3 mites. Should we treat both hives? Well, what are you, right on the border there? Let's see, 6 for 300 would be 246 to 100. So you're kind of right at that threshold, aren't you? You don't really have the, if you're following the numbers on the Honeybee Health Coalition's website that has a lot of this percentage breakdown, and they go by the time of the year that you're on. But usually we're looking at 2 to 3 mites or less this time of the year. That's your call, David. You're going to have to decide whether you want to treat. But if you were going to treat one, you might as well treat the other. But that number of mites will continue to increase as time goes on. That's for sure. Yep. Mr. Allen, nice to see you tonight. My queen died during inspection. What are the immediate actions I should take? Buy a new queen or allow them to raise their own queen? Okay, I'll tell you, here's how you're going to evaluate that. Is your colony extremely populated with lots of eggs, larvae, and pupae? If they are extremely healthy, maybe they have been, really robust all year, and now it's July the 18th or 19th, well, then it's okay to let them raise their other one now, raise their own queen. You're going to have a break in the brood cycle. So instead of having to cage your queen to cut down on the mites, you're going to allow them to have a break of about 30 days from brood production. And that's going to help everybody out, including the hive and the mite loads and all that. If your colony is not robust and they're suffering population-wise, not a good idea. It's better to buy a mated queen so you don't have to wait 30 days for them to raise their own queen. You can have a new queen shipped to you, put her in there. She's going to be laying in 7 days. Yep. Good question. Buzzing bees apiary. Can you overwinter a nuke in plastic boxes, or should they be transferred to wooden ones? I don't know the scientific answer. I've not done any studies on that. That comes to mind. I've always used wooden boxes. However, if you ask me, hey, David, do you want to live in a wooden house this winter, or do you want to live in a thin-walled plastic house? I'm going with wood. I don't know why. Wood just sounds like it's going to be a little bit better, because I think that plastic, if you touched it, would be awful cold on the inside, and that seems like it would make everything cold. That's my thinking on that. Using just my common sense, it sounds like wood would help a little bit. Yeah. Hey, Charles, will bees rob from the hive right next to them? I wouldn't put it past them. A strong colony, and they have a little colony next to them that's weak or has a lot of honey on board, but they had a queen issue. They don't have any much bees. Absolutely. They'll drop right over there and rob it. Yep. They will. Yep. Well, thank you, Michelle, for your super sticker tonight. Appreciate it, guys, for your donations. It means the world to us here. Hey, Louis Fields Alert, Indiana, David. How often to feed your rescue hive? Louis Fields Alert, Indiana. And Sherry's laughing. All right. I must have read that funny. All right. Well, back to the question. How often do you feed your resource hive? Resource hive. I don't recall ever feeding my resource hives. No, never fed it. I just made a video of one that's recovering after I basically took all the bees out of it and the frames, and they're doing nicely, not being fed. But there's a nectar flow. So usually when I'm making resource hives, Louis, there are a lot of resources available, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm making resource hives in the spring all the way through summer. Yep. Never had to feed them. Why do my bees drink 1-to-1 plain sugar water faster than 1-to-1 sugar water with Honeybee Healthy and powder added? Thanks. It might be that they just want that sugar water right now. Not sure. Sometimes bees will go to the source of the things that they need immediately right then. So maybe if they're trying to fill up the honey supers really fast, and they're just needing, raw nectar to do it, maybe that's what they're bringing in. It could be that you added a little bit too much. Maybe the smell is something they don't like. Not sure on that. I've not experienced that myself, and I have actually done that test myself where I put several jars of different things aside, next to each other, and they do seem to really go for those that have the additives. But I do think it's seasonal for sure. I think with the season, those nutritional needs change with bees. Like I can tell right now, mine are really wanting pollen. And so it's weird. It's this time of the year. Where bees need pollen. Oh yeah. Take a couple more questions. Then we're going to spin the wheel and see who will see what kind of questions we're going to get. Thanks, EL, for your super sticker tonight. Appreciate that so much. Yep. Why will a queen kill grass but not supersede your cells? Boy, I'm not sure. I'll just kind of tell you my thoughts on, wrap my head around this. If you have a queenless colony and you put a graft in there, I would think that they would accept that. If they're queenless and they see that vertical cell hanging there, and if they haven't started raising one, they will continue to raise it on out. Why they kill grafts, I think sometimes it's because they already have a queen or a virgin queen, something like that. Supersede your cells, I guess you're referring to charged cells with larvae or developing pupae in them that tear that down. I've not really seen this difference that you're talking about. So I'm not really sure why you might be seeing that, but it might be whether that hive is queenless or queen rider in the process. Could be a virgin queen on a mating flight. Yeah, the other day when I inspected a hive, if I would have put a queen cell or a new queen in there, they would have killed it because they had a queen in the oven. She was probably on a mating flight. Hey, Tom, good to see you. Thanks for your donation tonight. Thanks for your help. You've given me with queen rearing this season. Learning and doing are two different things. Please comment on the need to keep trying until we succeed after the related muscle memory we need to develop. Yeah, Tom, hang in there. Grafting queens, grafting the larvae from the frames is challenging, and it does affect how well the queen is when she's an adult, how careful you are at grafting. Thank you, Brian, for becoming a YouTube member of my channel. So like if you're kind of injuring the one-day-old larvae when you're pulling it up, or if you're not getting under the royal jelly good with your Chinese grafting tool, when you deposit it in maybe the plastic queen cup, then you might be pushing it off and injuring it. You might be flipping it over onto the sides where there aren't any spiracles that are being used by the bee and suffocate. Thanks, Mike, for your super sticker. So you always need to be thinking about, how is my grafting technique? So I'll give you this story again. I've told it several times, but when my daughter, Corrie, and I started learning how to graft, I had her I dictated to her everything I was doing. And I reviewed the results based on what I was dictating. Like I grafted this way, this one hit the wall, this one landed this way. And from the dictation and the numbers, I had everything numbered. I was able to say, oh, when I do it this way, it works a lot better. So one of the things that I remember was if I wind up not so much touching the larvae with my tools and I drop it dead center in the royal jelly that's on the tool, if I can push the royal jelly off dead center, those are the ones that are having the most success. But it depends on how many great nurse bees you have as well in there. All right. Let's do the spin. Let's see, I got to get this set up correctly. Spin to win tonight. Look at this. If you're new to my live stream, we have a fun time when we spin the wheel, and we're going to see where it lands on. And we always have a good time. Your chance to win something tonight, and my chance to be grossly embarrassed. All right, let's go. Oh, bees in the news. Well, Robbie, can you find the article on my news article? I'll look too. If you find it before me, then you can throw it up there. Let's see. Bees in the news. I have prepared a article. Nope. Am I doing that or are you doing that? Okay, not under banners. Let's see. I'll find it here in just a second. Bear with me, friends. Da, 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 bees in the news. Oh, there you go. Thank you so much. Robbie's the best. How does he do it? He's crazy. All right. He's just wiping his forehead. All right. MSU researchers discover honeybees can detect lung cancer. Isn't that amazing? Insects have an amazing sense of smell. Oh, I'm supposed to, they're telling me that I'm out of the scene here. Okay. So anyway, bees are supposed to be able to detect lung cancer. Bees have an amazing sense of smell the same way dogs do, even more than dogs, actually. So it took a steady hand to create the recipe. We tested the synthetic lung cancer versus healthy human breath mixtures on approximately 20 bees. So, yeah, you can take that down, Robbie. So I can, I want to break my back. Anyway, that's interesting. Always something about bees that are in the news that are so interesting, how they're using bees for different things. I know when I first started beekeeping, I learned pretty quickly that they used honeybees in the military for bomb detection. And wow, you wouldn't think that, but that's how good they smell. That is amazing. Yep. All right. Very good. Bees in the news. Let's see. For fun, I want to share, we got a few minutes left, so stay with me here, but I want to show you this. I want to ask you if you know what this is, and you can leave a comment if you know what this is. I'm going to hold it up here. It's about a little over an inch, and then it has these slots in it. Anybody know what this is? Some people are saying spacer. What do you think it is? Everybody's saying frame spacer. Well, I want to challenge your answer on frame spacers. Frame spacers are usually lower in number than the maximum frames a box will hold. So this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So with 10 frames, you don't need to space them, right? Because they butt up against each other. But you're not really wrong. Queen frame, queen cage holder. All right, mouse guard. Mouse guard, a little too big. A mouse can go through the size of what a pencil is. Yeah, good guess. So a frame rest, pretty flimsy. Kind of a mystery item, isn't it? You know what? A bee ladder. Oh my gosh, I love it. That's excellent. You just put it up to your hive. You don't have to have a ramp anymore. Now, this is not what it is, but it's great. And the bees can just walk up the ladder. A bee ladder. That's his second use. That's his second. A bear guard? No, a bear would swallow this. Bee hurdles, Olympics. Oh, it is a bee hurdle. They start running. Da 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 da. It's a bee hurdle in the Olympics. They just run down these hurdles, don't they? I remember Sherry ran hurdles, and one time, you jump in hurdles, and she caught her foot. Every time you catch your foot, somehow the cinder track just gets embedded in your. All right, well, what this is, somebody got it. Several of you got it right off the beginning. And I didn't want to say you got it because I wanted people to guess. This is just a spacer, frame spacer. So most of you were right. It comes with an Apiary hive. So when I got my first Apiary hive last year, a couple of years ago, I didn't know what the heck I did with this. I thought, does this go in the hive somewhere? It just helps you space out the frames. And I can't get that because, like I said, they butt up against each other. But anyway, that's what it is if you ever get an Apiary hive. So correct me if I need this, but I don't think I do. It seems like my frames space out pretty good. But maybe, I'm not an Apiary expert, but maybe the Apiary frames need it because maybe they're a little bit different than a Langstroth. I mean, they're Langstroth frames, but they're plastic, kind of snap your piece in the middle. But maybe this is really necessary. It wasn't because I used standard Langstroth wooden frames. I thought that'd be fun to show you that. You guys are sharp. I always am amazed at how sharp the Beak Squad is. You guys are so sharp tonight. All right. Well, that's great. We're about at our 8 o'clock top of the hour. We're out of time. I want to thank all of you so much for watching tonight. It has been my pleasure to be with you, to keep you thinking about bees and to get you excited about beekeeping. And man, I hope your beekeeping season is going really well. I'm always able to answer more questions. If you ask more questions than I can answer, I'll answer them on Friday on another video. So I'll keep tracking that. We'll see which questions I didn't get to, but I want to thank you all for being here. It's really great. I want to say hi to Hannah Fisher, first time watcher. I'll come back. Thank you. So always great. I want to say hello to all of you that are first time watchers tonight. So this is really I think a live stream that has a lot of heart in it. We're not just about bees. We're about community. We're about supporting each other. We're about trying to get along and be a part of a larger community. And I really think beekeeping, keeping honeybees is something that brings us together in a very unique way. Whether it's a local club or a live stream on a Thursday night, we can get together and talk and share. A lot of times we have special guests. We have sometimes we take up collections to help other people out. So we're a live stream with heart because we do love people and we do want the best for everybody. So just keep in mind that when you meet me first time, whether on a video or in person, I'm David Burns and I am a certified master beekeeper. I make my living off honeybees and helping beekeepers, but my primary passion is to really have your back. I want you to succeed in whatever you do in life. I want you to be healthy, successful, well-balanced individual. I do my best by sharing that through a lot of my videos that I make too. I have a coffee time usually on some of my videos where I share life principles as well. So I'm here for you. I got your back. We're rooting for you. And we do want the best for you and everything that you do. It's so important to us that bees are helping you find a place. Find your crowd, find your family, find your tribe. You've found maybe the right place to be that you can enjoy beekeeping, but also enjoy the community. So I want you guys to know sincerely, I do appreciate you, do love you. Thank you all for your donations and your time with me tonight. Be sure and watch my videos. Check our website out at honeybeesonline.com. I'll say good night and see you next time.